Hey everybody, it's your host Mike Gap, and in today's video, by the way, it's going to be a juicy video that I'm dropping today. So make sure to watch it in full and have your ears wide open and your eyes wide open too. So we're going to be talking about floor watching for NFT flipping. Okay, so when it comes to trading NFTs, and so what's so important about floor watching is to give you a logical awareness of what's going on in the NFT market. Because I bet you and the average person that's on the NFT market and they're looking at a collection, let's say they're looking at Bitmon Adventures on magiceden.io, they're like looking at it, they're like, oh, this looks cool, I'm gonna buy this, and I'm gonna flip it, and that's that. But the reality is that's not gonna work. That's not enough data to let's say purchase an NFT and then have the expectations of flipping it to make more money. That type of NFT auditing or NFT purchasing and then flipping doesn't work anymore. It like stopped working a while ago. So the idea that you can just purely based on like speculation and art won't get you too far nowadays. So what do you have to do? One, look at projects that have a lot of utility and long-term potential and that did well during the mint. Basically, they minted within, let's say, a minute. Most of these NFTs mint pretty quickly, so that's good. And then the second thing is long-term utility. Like, what are they trying to do? What is the project trying to do? If there's long-term utility and there's a long-term project and, their Twitter and their Discord is also growing too. Like, you can check that on Social Blade. And so when the NFT has a good community in their Twitter and their Discord, and their Twitter and Discord is still continually growing even after post mint, those are all good signs that you should be in this NFT, and that if you want to flip it, this is a good NFT to flip. Because in the worst case scenario, because not every flip is successful, some flips you have to wait. Okay, you have to wait till the price appreciates, unfortunately, and that could take time. But usually within that time, it does double, triple, quadruple. And so that's where most of the money is at, is the waiting period. But when you want to flip quickly, what you have to do is really watch the floor, and you got to watch it preferably twice a day, every day. Now, in the VIP community right now, we are creating a bot to scrape the data, and that way making it easier for you to trade NFTs on the Solana network. So if you want to be a part of that, I really recommend joining the whitelist VIP community. It's only $9.99. Simply go to mikeapp.com/VIP. Plus, there are more bonuses and perks. Stay tuned at the end of the video and I will explain them then. Now back to watching the floor on NFTs. So when you're watching the floor, you start to get more logical understanding of what's going on in terms of the market. Because if you just look at the NFT and you're like, oh, well, look, there's this NFT, it's 0.091. And then, I don't know, 6 days later, you check and you're like, oh my God, the price is now at 0.42. You panic and you dump your NFT. And that's where all the losers are. And unfortunately, when it comes to NFT flipping, honestly, even anything flipping, trading, stocks and whatever, most people sell too quickly, sell too early, buy high, sell low, right? That's usually the conclusion for most individuals. So to not be that person, you really should watch the floor on projects that you like. Again, this doesn't have to be Solana NFTs. It can just be whatever NFT you want. I just picked Solana NFTs. Because their gas fees are low. There's a lot of good projects to get into that in the midterm could blow up really high because the growth is really high on the Solana network. So those are my reasons, but the reality is you can pick anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be Solana NFTs. It can be Cardano, it can be AVAX, it can be Immutable. It can be anything. It doesn't matter. So I picked like 10 to like 20 different NFTs in different price ranges with different utilities just to show you that NFTs in various different niches, price ranges, and utility bases are all tradable, but the profit range is, different. In my perspective, the higher the NFT price is, the more profit there usually is. Not that I'm saying you can't trade in small numbers such as like 0.12 or something. You can, but there's definitely more money in the bigger souls. So when it comes to trading and watching the floor, you're simply going to watch the floor for like 3 weeks or so, and then you're going to start understanding patterns and price valuation. So like here in January 26th for Solantis Soul Warriors, you know, if we just open this up on Magic Eden, it was selling for around 0.40 Sol. And then prior to that, it was 0.20 like 2 weeks ago. So it was like 0.2 to then 0.40. And at January 27, I noted also that there's 173 of them, okay? And the price was 0.39. So right now there's 213 and there's 0.24. So clearly there is more supply and therefore the demand is less, therefore the price has lowered. However, this is just a fluctuation that's happening. Solantis, in my perspective, has a huge long-term potential. The team members and developers, in my perspective, are very smart. They're working on a minimum viable product, something that is small, beautiful, functional, that people are going to like, and then from there it can grow. They're not going to start too big with like crazy 3D projects that revolve around, you know, having 50 developers and programmers. They're starting small, and I really like it because from what I'm seeing so far, this project is looking really, really good. These 2D games are going to be killing it in the NFT world right now, and Solantis is doing a really, really good job on this. That's one demo gameplay that looks really good. Personally, like these games. I like Shovel Knight, I like Castle Crashers, I like Final Fantasy, and so on and so forth. So they're providing their light paper out. So it's like good news, good news, good news. So it's like this is a good long-term NFT. That's why I chose it. Therefore, this is just, let's call arbitrary price fluctuation. So when it does drop significantly, in my perspective, it's a time to buy. And on like February 10th, it was 0.19 Sol. Okay, so if you bought a 0.19 Sol, you could probably swing trade it for 0.40 in like 2 weeks from now, like 14 days from now. You could probably sell it for 0.40 and get 100% profit, or like not necessarily 100% because it depends on the price. Right now the price is 0.24. The one thing you have to check when you are flipping these NFTs, or you want to flip NFTs, you should be refreshing the page like every 30 minutes or 1 hour. That way you might see someone, what I call, have a major sell-off. So they'll be like, okay, I'm going to list it for 0.20, which is technically a lot less than 0.24. And you can probably see that in the activity section. Like 3 days ago, yeah, someone sold it for 0.2. So if you can pick up like the 0.2s, the 0.22, or the 0.19s, and the 0.198, most likely within like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's most likely going to go up. Not 100%, right? There's still that risk that it could stay there for a while. However, there's also the game release update. So if that happens too, that's a more of an inclination that it's going to go up. And we also know it's going to go up because it's been at that price before. Okay, so this could just be people moving the markets, which is something really noticeable. You notice on everything, on stocks, on crypto during, you know, at the end of the year, there's always like a sell-off near tax season. It's like these things just keep on happening. That's why when you do floor watching, you're going to start noticing these patterns. So it's like the Solantis has a whole range of NFTs. In my perspective, they're all good. Not one is better than the other for some reason. Right now, Soul Wizards are the highest price, but they're also at their lows too. On January 26th, it was around 1 Sol for a Soul Wizard NFT. And right now, I think it's like at 0.48 or something, 0.44, okay? So it's like at a cheaper price. Now, if you want to really, really flip, like let's say do a bunch of quick flips, I call these quantity flips, then what you do is, again, wait till the price is low. And that's always relative in terms of how much profit and how high the price is. Since this NFT is only around like 1 Solana, then anything less than like 0.5 is pretty good to get in, because chances are it's probably going to go up there again. And therefore you can get somewhere between 75% to 100% profit. Now, when you do quantitative trading, you're basically trading between the, what I call the lower low and the higher low. So it's like you're basically buying at like 0.45 and you're going to sell at like 0.063 and make like 0.06 Sol. And you do that quantitatively. And you'll notice this. And again, the price can be high or low depending on the NFT collection set. Like this, imagine if these NFTs were 44 Sol rather than 0.44 Sol. And then that 0.07 profit is no longer 0.07 profit, but 7 Sol profit. So I know obviously with a bigger bankroll, you can do more quantitative trades, but that's the reality of it. So Right now, the price is 0.44. Prior to that, it was around 1 Sol. So, in my perspective, if you can get any of these NFTs for less than 0.4 Sol, so if you could pick up the 0.35, the 0.39, the 0.3, the 0.25, right? If you could pick those up, and to do that again, you would just have to like casually just refresh the page every 30 minutes and just check, because there's going to be that one person that's impatient, and you got to buy the impatient one, and then you got like 20 minutes to pick it up before someone picks it up. The volume's not that crazy that someone's going to pick it up like that. You have time. So you would pick up the 0.2, 0.3, 0.35, and then if you want to do the quick flip on this NFT, you would sell it somewhere between like 0.56 to 0.8. And then if you're going to be holding longer midterm, then you can probably sell at 1 Sol. I don't know, like if you're holding long term, maybe 5 Sol. Like this project has huge potential, and we are very early right now. So super duper early. But again, if you were to flip this NFT, you would buy the 0.2 and sell it for like like I said, 6. Therefore, you get around 0.4, and then after fees and transactions, you're probably left with like, let's say 0.3, okay? And if you do this quantitatively, like if you pick up 4 of these NFTs, then that 0.3 is almost then now worth, let's just round it up to 1 Sol if you do 3 or 4 of these trades. And that's when the money comes, because you're going to start noticing NFTs price fluctuating a lot. I also talked about like Soul Ape a lot. I mentioned this in the VIP community, and people were like, hey, the price is going low. It was like at, I don't know, 0.35 at one point. And I told them, like, if you want to sell for a loss, you can. Like, remember, at the end of the day, I don't decide anything. You do. But I know from watching this, even prior to January 26th, that this NFT has hit 1 Sol. So, like, why would I be worried in the short term that it has hit a 0.4? Like, Soul Ape has legitimacy. It's part of a DeFi on the Solana network called SolSwap, and it's a pretty decent sized network that promised airdrops, which they're doing. So there's no reason to feel threatened. But again, people in the NFT world have a brain capacity of a goldfish. So your goal is to take profit from the goldfishes, okay? So this NFT, like I said, was at 1 Sol. So it's like you sell at 1 Sol or whatever, and then you would purchase at 0.5 or less, and you could do those midterm swing trades. However, if you want to do the short-term trades on, let's say, Soul Ape, let's go on the Soul Ape NFT and go on items. If you want to trade this NFT, we know it can go up to like 1 Sol, because I previously have seen it. I haven't recorded because it's prior to January 26th. What we've seen by watching the floor is that it has hit an all-time low of like 0.43, and I think it even has hit lower than that. I recall watching the floor throughout that day, and it hit like 0.2535 area. So it's like, if you want to flip this NFT in the short term, you got to look at the low lows and you got to look at the high highs. That way you don't want to buy too high. You don't want to buy at like 2 Sol because randomly Soul Ape spiked, and at the same time you don't want to buy too low just because it might be a bit suspicious. And you should check the Discord and Twitter to see if anything suspicious happened in terms of like bad news. But when you are doing short-term trading, what you want to do is, again, watch the floor and then see which prices are best to get. In my perspective, in the short-term trade, if you want a successful trade within at least 7 days, is that I would probably purchase Soul Ape for less than 0.40 and sell it for 0.6. Okay, so if I was to trade Soul Ape on the short term and want a successful trade within that period, I would look for this NFT when it's 0.4. And it seems like it hit 0.4 a while ago. According to my watch floor, it hit 0.4 on February 4th. So 10 days ago, it hit 0.4. So if you were to trade Soul Ape NFT, especially like at this price at 0.69, most likely I would try to purchase it for around, like, based on what I'm seeing in the last like 3 days, that way if I can have a successful trade, is to buy it around less than 0.55 and then sell it for 0.67 plus. Okay, there's not going to be that much profit, but that's the trade you can possibly do. And that's why I say, if you look at different NFTs and multiple NFTs, you'll start to understand that certain time frames, certain NFTs, you could trade for a higher profit. between the days or between the time. So that's why I really, really recommend that you watch the floor and also, read the light paper, the roadmap, figure out what the utility is, check the Discord and Twitter, see if it's growing. You can use socialblade.com. Watch the previous episodes on mikeapp.com/NFT trades if you forgot on how to do the Twitter auditing and Twitter follower check. So, do all that and then watch the floor, because then you're going to start understanding, when's a good time to buy. Like another one, example, Invoker's NFT hit a high of 2. And right now, it's a really good time to buy. Or it was actually. It was at 1 Sol when I checked like a couple hours ago. 1 Sol, okay, is at 1.18. Because if you bought it at 1 Sol, you most likely could sell it at 1.18. But in my perspective, in the long term for this NFT, it's going to hit like probably 5 or 10. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to happen. It's just more in the long term. I think that's going to happen. But in the short term trading, by watching the floor, you can understand that if you buy it for like less than 1.10, you could sell it for like 1.25. So preferably if you get it for 1 Sol, you can sell it for like 1.15, and then you're left with some profit. And again, you would do that multiple times throughout the day. And this type of trading, this quantitative trading, becomes more profitable when your bankroll is higher, when you're trading multiple NFTs. That way you don't waste your time too much, because what happens too at certain times, especially on smaller price NFTs, is you can pick up 7 of them. And then once the price goes back up to the, let's say, normal range for throughout that time period, you then flip all 7, and you then make 2 Sol on that trade, right? Even though it's technically like 7 trades, it's like more like a group trade. So you do group quantitative trading by watching the floor and then picking long-term projects. That way, in the worst case scenario, you just wait it out and you can then flip it off. Like I've done this with like Solantasy. I bought at like 0.2. If I just log into my wallet. So here's some like previous trades that I've done. For example, I bought Apes on Dragons for like 0.12 and then I sold it for 0.16, like within a 7-day period. It's not that much profit, but if you do this quantitatively, it starts to add up. And if we go like 30 days ago, I purchased a bunch of Soul Warriors for 0.2, and the price went up, and it went to 0.42, and I listed it on those days, and it got sold here, and it got sold here. And I'm like, now it's time to get into Solantasy because the price is now at 0.2, And then I also bought Bitmon at 0.7 and 0.9 and 0.9. And right now it's fluctuating between 0.9 to like 1.14. However, I see this in the mid-long term more like 3 to like 10 Sol. And the prices that I got, I think are good because this is flippable now. And honestly, I saw this potentially flippable just a day ago. So it's like, again, these flips start to add up if you want to do short term, but I'm doing a lot more mid-term, long term. So it's like these tradings that I showed you could easily be short term trades. Like the Bitmon trade is 100% short term I could do. And even the small little NFTs that I've been watching, like the Unica Nightmare is a accessory to the Aurori NFT. And if I go on that and click on Aurori game, the price has been, prior to this, it was lower. So when I started this document, I tracked it at 0.16, and I've been noticing that the supply has drastically dropped. It was even higher. It was like 500. Now it's slightly higher, now at 300, but the price is at 0.15. And there were so many of these Unicas, even prior to this date. It was like at super duper cheap prices, like 0.07. That's when you like swoop up a lot of them. So these are just examples. That's why I'm showing these trades along with these NFTs. That way, by watching the floor in long-term projects, you know when to buy the price based on, market movements. Whales moving the price, FUD in the atmosphere, the goldfish mentality of NFT retail investors. So it's like you got to take that in all consideration, and then you can make some really, really good trades. And once you get more and more comfortable with this method, you're going to see more and more profits. So you're going to have a really good time doing this. I really recommend just doing this yourself too. Pick 10 to 40 different projects And if you don't know which projects to watch the floor at there, I really recommend joining the VIP community in the whitelist tier. That way you get access to the private Discord channel where you can ask me and everyone in there on which good NFT projects to get into, whether Solana or Cardano, whether ETH, doesn't matter. We look at everything along with our NFT buy and sell calls, crypto buy and sell calls, stocks buy and sell calls, the 7-figure credit leveraging course, and weekly VIP crypto and NFT lessons. So we only have 45 spots left. I think it's even less than that. It hasn't updated. So get in before it's too late, and make sure to follow my Twitter at MikeGapOfficial. Join the public Discord at mikegap.com/Discord. Join the Alpha Community Facebook group at mikegap.com/Facebook. Join the VIP email newsletter at mikegap.com/email. And like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. And as always, this is your host, Mike Gap. Until next time, peace.